Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kahlout podcast. Today we sit down for an in-depth conversation that navigate through the trials and tribulations of life's most challenging moments. Our podcast is a tapestry of human resilience, a place where laughter and stories light up even the darkest of times. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some special guests. Amaar and Buck Nasty. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I said ladies and gentlemen. I meant gentlemen and gentlemen. See, your laugh came in before I could even say your name. All right, man. Welcome to the pod, to the TKP, to the Kahlout podcast. Do you feel the honor?
I'm very honored. Thank you so much for anybody to tolerate me for a period of time.
Of course, of course. Hey, we're here. All right, man. Trials and tribulations. What do you got for us today? What do you got on your mind?
Oh, man. I think, first of all, let's just put this out there. I'm a nervous wreck because I don't really typically talk about my stories. But let's just start with where I was born, where I was introduced, and where I kind of learned to be an adult really quickly in life. So I was born in the middle of Desert Storm. My mom was pregnant with me while my dad had escaped to Saudi Arabia just because he didn't want to participate in another war. He had already participated in the 8-year war with Iran.
Okay.
And when he was in Iran and he participated in that, he lost 2 brothers in that war. So he had to see them pass away while he continued being in war. So that was a lot. That was heavy on him. Yeah. My mom lost brothers because of that war as well. Obviously, I have no recollection of that since I was just
you were still in the womb. Yeah.
Still
dead. You were being developed.
Right.
Yes.
I was maturing in the sack.
Let us be clear. You are Iraqi. You were born.
Iraqi, yep.
Iraq.
Yep, Basra to be precise, which is the south of Iraq. And I was born during Desert Storm. My dad went off to Saudi Arabia. He came to America as a refugee. Man, I can't speak enough and highly enough about him and all the things that he went through. In the sense that he worked multiple jobs, saving enough money. While we were in Iraq, we swung over to eventually to Jordan, and before coming over here to America. Okay. Me and my mom. And obviously we left family back home, and that was intense. That was a lot to see as a child because you saw a lot of raw things. I think one of my earliest memories that I remember is that I saw my uncle get killed, and it was just by our own people, Iraqi soldiers. And I think that was
internal conflicts.
No, he's just out in. The thing was, during that time that Saddam was around, that there was a lot of military personnel that felt like they could do whatever they wanted to, and I don't know. It was just I don't know what the reasoning was behind why they did it. They did, but saw that for sure, and that was just like I still have PTSD over that to this day, and still have like flashbacks, and that's it took me like a lot of years before I can kind of openly say it, before I can internalize within myself that was a really very damaging thing for me in life. Prospectively, I moved to the States. My dad brought me and my mom here. We weren't refugees. So we came here through the proper channels, and he brought us here with all of his hard work, and I can never speak enough to how much he worked to get me and just my mom here. Yeah. Came here to the States in 96, towards the end of 96, or towards the end part of it. I don't know, sometime in the winter. Came here to America, and lived in Chicago. Started off living in Chicago in the hood. Okay. Yeah, that was a lot. There was a lot of like things that you experienced, like seeing crackhead, get his head blown off.
Okay.
That was a lot. There was me selling fucking coke bags. I didn't even know English, and I'm over here just doing what my cousins are telling me over there, and
Dang.
I'm over here just listening to somebody that's older. I don't know who it is. He's just he's basically the dealer, and he's over here having us sling it to the crackheads, and that was holy. I was like, wow, this is like I didn't.
How old were you?
So what am I, 7? Yeah, like 7, just about to be turning 8, and I'm over here like literally barely learning English, barely kind of picking up on things, and this was in 97, 98, those perspective 2 years, and
Okay. The crack era.
Yeah, well, it was definitely still there. It was prominent in Chicago. It was prominent in those underdeveloped areas, especially. And like I said, I didn't even know English very well. So it's just like I'm over here just doing things literally based off of what adults are telling me, and kids that are older than me and stuff like that. So you don't really like realize how astounding that is to do that until you prospectively get older, and you're like, wow, bro, I sat there doing this with crackheads, and I could have been taken at any point, right?
Holy shit.
Yeah, so that's different. That's different, man. I started smoking weed around that age, around 8 years old.
Okay.
I started smoking weed, and parents didn't know because I would get out, do my thing with friends, family, and I was smoking at my friend's house, and that was different.
Did it affect you?
No, not really. Like I said, I was so fertile. Like I thought that it was a norm. I thought that was an American norm. Like I didn't know any better. That was the crazy thing, is like everybody doesn't think about that stuff until they like get older, and they're like, oh shit, that's a realization of like you went through. And for me, in the area that I lived in and stuff like that, everything about it was just so normal. Like you're like, oh, okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you just go with the flow kind of thing, just like you would as an adult, with your job routinely or whatever. And it was a lot, but I never prospectively looked at it until I got mature enough to realize I'm like, holy shit. At any time, I could have been taken away.
Yeah.
So moved up to Michigan for a little bit, then down to Nebraska. A big Iraqi community. I think it's the second in the United States is in Nebraska, and then number 1 is in Dearborn, Michigan.
Okay.
So big Iraqi population there. So I'm like intertwined with the Iraqi population, but I'm not. It's also, for me, I was culturally more associated towards the black community. So I was doing more things within the black community, Hispanic community. I wasn't, I was more rebellious. I don't know if it would be rebellious would be the word. I just didn't really get along well with the Arab community.
What do you think that is?
Yeah, was it because of the restrictions? But what do you think it was?
There's a lot to it. I don't think it's just restrictions. I think it's just comfort. I think comfort was for me because of, again, from kind of perspective of Chicago, Michigan, you're like, I was more ingrained within black communities than I was within the Arab communities.
Yeah.
And I think it was just become second sense for me as far as the comfort. And also Arab communities, people wanted to pray. People wanted to go to to the mosque or masjid. I wasn't a part of any of that kind of lifestyle. That lifestyle wasn't even like my thing. My dad tried to get me to go to that, and like he prospectively always tried to push me towards the Muslim route, the more honest route and stuff like that. And I just kept on pushing away. And I think it had to do a lot with my relationship with him too. I didn't have a good relationship with my dad growing up.
No.
I love him. I love him to this day, and I will love him for everything that he's done for me. But I didn't have a good relationship with him. And I think that's probably why I kind of strayed away from the Middle Eastern community too. I think it had to do a lot with, just the conflict between, he was very abusive. And that's a very common thing in the Middle Eastern community, especially the older communities, not our age, but the older ones definitely, man. We got
old school,
we got the shit
beat
out of us. I've had belts. I've had logs, being chased by logs, literally logs. He's picked up off like this.
Is that a tree?
I kid you not. One of them, where the police came out and they were like, "Yes, sir, we heard about you chasing your son with a big old like." It was just like was a tree that was chopped down, and they like took all the leaves and stuff. He chased
this
me.
is real.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This
It
was
reminds
like,
me of that movie Commando with the Arnold Schwarzenegger. It starts off with him just carrying a tree log, just walking down the street.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a part of, definitely one of the more things that pushed me away from the Middle Eastern community. There's just a lot of things too that I prospectively just wasn't comfortable with. And again, I was picked up and I was like intertwined within the black community. So I had a lot of, dealings with that. And I won't even speak in detail as much, but I was doing a lot of illegal activity within the community, right? So aside from the smoking and...
Would you say you were rebellious?
Yeah, very much rebellious. I mean, I got caught in 5th grade. I got caught in 5th grade in Nebraska. I tried to sell a dime bag of weed to 2 students that I thought were supposedly my friends. They were asking me about it. They're like, "Hey, can you bring that on this day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, by all means." And again, I'm a little pothead, a little 5th grader. Not much of us are out there, right?
Man.
And then
In the 5th grade?
Bruh.
Like, come on, man.
in the
I was
5th
trying to learn cursive, I think.
I never picked up cursive, man. I
Shit,
tried.
This guy was selling dime bags.
You know how they used to give you the outline of how to write the cursive? I couldn't even do those.
God damn.
It's probably because you were too high to do it.
So, ironically enough, it's crazy. Craziest thing is like I didn't bring that dime bag. I forgot it the next day. I remember, and I go to school, and I don't remember what period we were in or whatever, but man, they pull me into the office, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" They're like, "Amaar, we've heard some unfortunate news," and I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, they're like, "Yeah, you tried to bring some marijuana to some of the students, is that right?" I'm like, "What? No, hell no. Deny, So I'm like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" They're like, "Amaar, we know that you're probably high right now," and I'm like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about." So I'm denying. And then they bring, my mom had came there. They brought my mom there. Interpreter was there, and it was like a shun on my mom's reputation and things like that. I was like, I don't got nothing. I don't know what she's talking. I denied, obviously through and through, but I knew prospectively. I was like, okay, I'm not like these people. I can't be speaking to these students the same way that I speak to the people that I'm older association with, right? Because most of my life growing up, I associated with more people that were older than me, and that were
More
in
mature,
that. Yeah, they were in that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And this was at school. I remember in 5th grade was because I had prospectively, I was a troubled kid, so I had gotten kicked out my 4th grade year from another school in Nebraska. I mean, and they had to move me to the next closest school within the district.
Yeah.
So I go to that school, and I'm over here getting in trouble already. And troubled. I'm just like, I was a troubled youth. Like, I was fighting all the time. I was in behavioral.
Like, you just like, what do you think triggered that?
I think a lot of it had to probably do with the abuse from home, right? I think a lot of it was like me kind of like lashing out towards people that I knew that I could handle, in a sense, I would say probably.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best way of perspective. I couldn't put my hands on my dad. He's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a monster to me. Like, for the size difference, mashallah, like, he was, like, prospectively, he was just so much more bigger than me. And it wasn't like what I am right now, So I'm a little skinny little kid, man, a little even chubby, whatever you want to, I don't, but I think that had to do a lot with it, man.
Absolutely.
Do you think it was more of a, you felt like you were getting bullied at home, so you were just showing that same thing to other people that you were able to handle?
Oh, yeah, more than likely, yeah. But the thing is that I always describe this in the sense is that my dad didn't purposely abuse me and my mom. He'd never purposely. He had just such bad PTSD that he wasn't even aware of what his behavior. It took me a lot of years down the road.
So he wasn't just an angry person. He was somebody that would just like switch and then bam.
Switch. Yep. And then later down the road, he was neglecting his health after he stopped, they stopped him from working because of a knee injury and things like that. And it developed into worse habits because his diabetes led him to develop schizophrenia on top of the PTSD.
Oh, man.
So that even got worse. So that was even a worse trigger point because at times he wouldn't even realize who me and my mom were.
Oh.
I mean, and have these moments where I'm at home and he would just beat the living crap out of my mom. And I had to try to push him. I did everything within my power to try to get in the way of that, or I would try to take the beatings. But there's just so much me and my mom could have done, growing up, and she went through so much and she just tolerated so much, and I can't even begin to think about how resilient she was as a human being because she tolerated somebody like that along with me. And we raised not only raised me as well, but we took care of my dad at the same time while he was being abusive, along with the fact that we had younger siblings.
Oh,
right?
There was
my
brothers
younger
and
siblings.
sisters.
Yeah, so my three younger siblings are all born here in the States. They were all born periodically, like within a 2-year gap of each other. And so we had them, early as soon as we moved to Nebraska. And prospectively, that's when my dad's health kind of worsened and kind of flipped the switch with the schizophrenia side effects, the diabetes, the other health complications. So at that point, I'm like 12, turning 13, going in and out of schools as far as, behavioral health stuff. Got home, I'm over here trying to take care of dad. At the same time, I'm trying to I'm trying to learn and comprehend as far as learning English. I'm in and out of behavioral as far as suspensions and things like that. So
you're dealing with your own battles and then dealing with your families. And then, so what would you say, cut to today, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say helped you overcome all the trials that you went through growing up? Would you say that you've resolved them, or as an adult today, or you've learned from them and you're still battling with them? Walk us through that journey.
So it's very interesting because I think that I would never be the man that I am right now had I not had such just harsh experiences in life. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think if you don't have these experiences where you're like looking at it prospectively, like a year to 2 years down the road, you're not really like learning for the future. So I'm sitting here and I can tell you I have been numerously throughout my years, I've had people screw me over, I've had people betray me, I've had my family, I disassociated from because they've used me and my dad and my mom and for money and things like that. So I think those experiences definitely churned me into the person that I am right now. I've also learned to be resilient. I've also learned to adapt. The way that I speak right now wasn't me in middle school, wasn't me in high school. I learned to be resilient. I learned to kind of work my way up. I've learned to kind of teach myself in a sense, right?
Yeah.
I think people misunderstand this is a lot because people think that if you're going to school, that you're prospectively learning. I think at the time generation that I was in, that they were just introducing the No Child Left Behind, and I think either beginning of high school or something like that. So
yeah, the Obama administration, right?
Yeah. So I think that was the time period because I graduated in 2009.
Oh no, was that Bush? No, that was Bush.
Was it Bush? Was it Bush?
Was No Child Left Behind Bush? Or
don't quote me. I don't know. That one.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was something like that.
That I remember. Yeah.
But going into middle school, like I was still having a lot of issues, still getting a lot of suspensions. It was amazing to me that I was even able to go to high school and even graduate on time in high school with all of the suspensions. I got kicked out of one high school, went to another high school, kept on getting suspended in and out of school, kept on going to the little youth jails, kept on being put on house arrest. Juvenile detention centers. Oh my God. Juvenile detention centers are pretty harsh. I think people really downplay that, especially the ones in Nebraska because they treated you just like they did an adult inmate. And that's actually a funny story because I worked as a corrections officer for a short stint as well. Yeah. And I saw their living conditions very much similar to juvenile detention centers. Definitely gets you a crack of life for sure.
Yeah. So what would you say if somebody, would go through if somebody that's going through something similar to what you were going through growing up, what is a piece of advice that you'd give them?
Don't follow the pack. I think that's the number one thing that I learned the older that I got, is that people tend to follow those people.
The crowd.
The crowd.
So you're saying don't go in line in the Apple store and get the new iPhone 16?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Definitely don't
Unpaid
do that
sponsorship. Unpaid sponsorship.
Huawei, come on, new Huawei.
Come on, Huawei. We want to see that triple fold, baby. Come on, baby. That thing was
dope.
Do not follow the pack. Well, but it gets lonely out there, man.
Oh,
You're in the 5th grade. Your friends are like, hey, let's sell this crack. I don't think that happens today, but let's say, the situation arises. You're in Chicago, right? You're passing by D Block, and you're like, hey, man, we're 7. Let's sell some crack instead of play marbles. Right? What do you do,
So different time and era. I guess for this era of kids.
90s crack era.
Man,
way
different.
Yeah.
It's way different.
Yeah, people talk about crack as if it was just in the 80s, man.
Yeah. I don't think they understand.
Like
Rodney
it was
King?
in the 90s. Yeah,
was it Rodney King 92, 93?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But crack was still going strong into late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, people really do misunderstand how bad it was, man. There was, like I said, so with straying away with people that, the groups and stuff like that, I can speak from personal experiences that, yes, I had a home with these people. I was gang affiliated growing up.
Which gangs?
So I actually have a cover up right here, but Vice Lords is the predominant gang that is
Vice
around
Lords.
in
Okay.
Chicago, Vice Lords, and they have Blackstones,
Okay.
and they have Gangster Disciples.
All right.
Gangster Disciples are more of a majority. Vice Lords are second, and then Blackstones are third. Then you have your Latin Kings, and then you have your street gangs as well. And then obviously Vice Lords is throughout the Midwest. So they're up in Michigan.
What do you gain from a
Shelter.
gang? That's it?
Shelter. People don't understand the protective nature of when you're gang affiliated. It's a double-edged sword, and people don't understand this.
Yeah.
Is that you're gonna have protection, you're gonna have friends, you're gonna have people that you're gonna associate with.
Okay.
At the same notion, you're also going to have to go into fight.
And is that
people
why
that
the
you don't wanna
tattoos?
fight.
Because if you're in a situation and they see a tattoo that resembles a gang, they don't
Nah,
bother
the tattoo
you?
is just stupidity.
Okay,
The tattoo
all
is
right.
just stupid. Honestly,
I'm like,
tattoo-
is it a sign? Is it a
just-
label? It's a tag that says, "Hey, don't mess with me. I'm with the Vice Lords." And no.
Prospectively, tattoos at that time period, at that era, that's what it was. It was just literally now you know what I'm repping. You know what I'm saying? Back then it was repping colors. It was repping how you tilted your hat. It was, all of those things was ways and methods of kind of associating who you were with and who you were associating with. Because we didn't have cell phones. I don't know, like these kids today, man, they have, bro, I didn't have a cell phone until 7th grade. And that was like, I think 2005, 2004.
Are those same gangs still around today?
Oh yeah, they're
okay.
definitely. But you know what? The gangs are different now, because these kids out here all go in and they have a gun on them and they're ready to just kill. It's a kill mentality.
Why?
You know what? And I think it's because it's a prove it thing now. Now it's like, whereas back then you got jumped in, you get jumped in, you get the living shit beat out of you. You're in. Then you have to do certain things, as far as like selling this, stealing this, fight this. Those are the ways that you kind of associated it. Now, everything becomes kill. Like the way that I look at it from the outside perspective looking in, that's what it seems like these kids are nowadays. It's not more of an association to be a part of something. It's more of like, this is a way that I can get away with like killing people and hurting people. Like it's a whole different mentality.
But
These
I mean,
kids are different.
if the gangs want to prove that they are the shit, let's just say, and they get to go out and kill, and they don't catch any charges, at the end result is people getting murdered. No one knows who did it, and only you and maybe 2 or 3 friends that know who did it, and that's it. So what does that individual or the people in that car or that group or gang gain out of it at this point? if nobody knows
Well,
and it's
don't
just
forget,
happening.
even people who get arrested and they do time,
Yeah.
that's something that they're going to be proud of in prison because their boys are there already. So they caught a murder rap, and hey, look, I got bodies. Right?
Yeah.
So you rep your whatever set you're repping, even in prison, for whatever it is life that you're going to be spending in there.
And respectively, these kids are different now. Now they just put it in fucking music. They just literally self-snitch themselves out. That's a whole different, like, they literally take such pride in it that they'll self-assassinate themselves and get themselves in a prison sentence because they'll put it in music now.
All right.
So it's a different time.
Well, let's say somebody's in that situation right now, right?
In this time? Or
Right
in
now,
my
right
era?
now, right now, right?
Okay.
And they want to stop it. They're like, I don't want to shoot people anymore. I don't want to get tattoos. I don't want to make poor decisions. What is the first thing they should do?
Everybody's different, so I can't speak on everybody. But there's ways of getting jumped out, kind of going up to the person that leads in that particular area as far as the community.
Okay.
Whoever's head of that particular chapter is what they called it. We used to call it chapters, believe it or not. And
It's very organized.
I know, very organized.
Okay.
Particular chapters, they had different names. Everybody had different names. So whoever was in that area, you could, I mean, the thing is that the older people that were in charge of those gangs back then compared to now,
Okay.
they looked out for you. So if you had a talent, if you were really smart, if you were really athletic and really good, going to be a good athlete or whatever, where they saw potential for you to get out, they looked out for you. They didn't want you to associate the way that these generation of kids do.
So if they see that there's a smart kid that's really good at calculus,
they want to get him out.
and they find him selling drugs, they're gonna immediately make sure that he's not selling drugs anymore.
Yeah. It's so different than what it is. That's why I'm saying it's like the youth of today are and I don't understand where the switch came because we got taught better. So that's why I'm like, just prospectively, I'm just like, wow, man, like all of it got thrown out of the window for what we went through as far as like, hey, if that motherfucker was smart, if that motherfucker had like a chance, the opportunity to get out of the hood, we're going to make sure that he gets out of the hood. We're going to make sure that this person goes on to that good school. You know what I'm saying? It's different now. It's completely 360 of what it used to be. Now they're taking these kids and trying to just make them feel like they belong, and they throw them to the wolves and innocently kill people or just do these random shootings and things like that. And I'm just like, prospectively, like what exactly changed in that whole timeline,
So you think if we went back to the old mentality where there's leader chapters, there's people responsible that you can come to that had that decision making that would separate and decide, okay, this group of individuals, their low lives, they're not going to change. They don't have a future. You know what? We'll make sure that things will continue as they are. But in the sense of now, if somebody of that group has the potential to become a doctor or a nurse or somebody in public service, they'll just continue to stay in that path of shit and have no opportunity to come out because there's no supervising entity like there was back in the day.
Most definitely. They took away the good ones in the sense of like the adults that saw a potential for the youth that were around them. I'm telling you, man, gangs used to be more of a safe haven back then for a lot of kids.
Buck Nasty, what do you think? What do you think they should do?
Well, just real quick, to give you an example, you hear a lot of examples of back in the day how it was when a kid in the neighborhood, let's say, had the talent, he was going to be something as far as playing basketball. The way they do is they do a collection and they get him new sneakers.
Oh.
Yeah. That was a normal thing.
So
that was a normal thing. That's how
bring the basket around. $5 to
brand new. That's how they and that's how they take care of them. Now, also, that's one of the reasons why you see like somebody makes it. They have an entourage of 30 people because all those people, the people that helped them out when they were down,
help bring them up.
Yeah, exactly. So he feels the responsibility. But like other than these days, other than just saying, I don't want to sound corny about it, but just say no, right? Don't
just say no to drugs. Just say no,
drugs,
man.
Right? Like again, you live in these places where they feel like they are alone, and the only people that they can feel like a community is these people, whether it be the gangs or whatever it is you want to call them these days. You can't blame these kids for joining. You can't, because it is a sense of community.
Yeah.
right? So like you see in the nicer, more affluent neighborhoods, you got like country clubs. That's the equivalent for them.
So,
It's a place where they shoot dice or do whatever's the
so at the end of the day, it starts with the household. If the household's broken, then that's a recipe for disaster for the kids.
But just don't forget that also it's a socioeconomic thing too.
Yes,
You
100%.
You tend to see this stuff in poorer areas.
So work harder, get rich. You said you didn't come from a poor household?
I didn't come from a broken household. My dad was there for us. He was still providing when I was younger.
Okay.
So when I started associating myself with that gang lifestyle, associating myself with drugs and stuff, my dad was still prominent, even though he was abusive. I don't think it was a broken household at that time period. I don't feel like it was broken.
Would you guys say you're in the middle class or high class?
No. We lived in a poor community. Like he said, it's your
socioeconomic
community.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
so
social.
again,
Yeah.
see this the way you hear about it in the news is how like, oh yeah, you have to have both parents at home. You have to be all of this stuff. The dad has to be involved. Well, a lot of people, I would say, more often than not, they have that. But if both parents working all this time without the double shifts, just to be able to pay the bills, and again, it's not the greatest place in the world to be in. These kids, like in the 90s, they called them latchkey kids. I don't know if you know what that is. Latchkey kids were both parents would be working, usually probably a single mother or whatever it is. The kid came home from school, he had the key to the house. He came in, opened the door, went into the house. They called that latchkey. I don't know where that name came from, but that's what it's called. That's normal.
Yeah.
So, okay, imagine you're in a bad neighborhood. Odds are you're gonna be going to see your friends. Where are they gonna your friends gonna be from? They're not gonna be from affluent neighborhoods. They're gonna be in the same neighborhood.
And if it happens to be in the suburb where things like that don't exist,
exactly.
then
everything is cool. But if you're in urban areas, that's what they call them, right? Quotation, urban areas. You're gonna be hanging out with people with the same thing. Their parents might be there, but they're working a lot. So they have to pay the bills, so they can't have time to be raising the kids the right way.
Correct.
So it's going to be odds are it's going to be
the neighborhoods raise them.
Exactly. So that's normal. And again, you don't fight it by picking on the stupidest things that these kids do. You can't blame these kids when they start joining these people, when they actually feel like a sense of community. It makes sense.
So we're taking away. We're almost out of time here. Taking away, what would you say best piece of advice to get those guns that you have?
Steroids.